Hi, this is John Joseph. I'm the Vice President of Marketing at Scribe Software. Welcome to today's presentation. We are going to start the meat of the presentation in just a minute. Before we do that, just wanted to go over a couple of housekeeping items. One, hopefully you can hear me. The audio today is VoIP only, so you need to join through your computer. We will be making a recording of today's presentation as well. So if you'd like to review the material later or share a snippet of the presentation or the whole webinar with somebody, we appreciate that, and please, you'll get that recording and be able to share that. Typically that takes about a day or so to get out there, maybe a couple of days. So you should be seeing that either late tomorrow or early next week. I do want to point out, if you haven't attended the presentation from us before, that there are a number of icons at the bottom of your screen. These will allow you to interact with us, so you should be able to adjust the sound and ask questions and look for answers, chat with us. You can also download a copy of the slide deck there if you'd like to get the copy of the slides. And if you are a social media maven, please communicate over social media with the @ScribeSoft handle and use the data integration hashtag. I do want to go back to the question part. It's really important for these presentations for people to ask questions, so we encourage any and all questions. We will have about half an hour worth of time, and we've left 5 to 10 minutes for questions at the end. So please, as soon as a question pops up, what we'd like you to do, we're going to answer the questions at the end of the presentation. So just type your question into the Q&A window that's at the bottom of your screen and submit it, and we'll come back to those at that time. All right, so again, welcome to today's presentation. Today we have a great topic: how to prepare your HubSpot to CRM integration project. And we have a lot of great how-to advice about how to get ready for that project. And I'm happy to introduce our speakers for today. So we have two great speakers from LyntonWeb that have a lot of experience with integrating HubSpot to various CRM systems, especially Dynamic CRM and Salesforce. And I'd like to introduce them now. So Daniel Lynton is the founder of LyntonWeb, which is a HubSpot agency and also a Scribe partner organization. And Daniel himself is also a Scribe MVP. Daniel and his team pioneered HubSpot integrations. They were the first to go to market 7 years ago with a really nice, simple HubSpot integration. Daniel has partnered with Scribe to deliver all of their integration solutions using the Scribe platform, and he is our go-to partner when it comes to HubSpot integrations. Katy Ermak is the technical account manager at LyntonWeb, and she is a dedicated point of contact for their HubSpot integration customers. She is a real expert when it comes to HubSpot integrations to different CRM systems. She has more than 2 years of hands-on experience implementing integrations with HubSpot. So we're really happy to have them with us. And with that, I will turn it over to them to take us through the agenda and the content for today's presentation.
Great, thank you. And thank you for the introduction, you guys. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We're really excited to be partnering up with Scribe on this. We always enjoy giving you guys as much information as possible to successfully implement an integration with your CRM. So during our time together, we'll be discussing items such as setting up access to your HubSpot and CRM environment, the kickoff phase and how you can get started on the right foot, planning your field mappings, the development phase, as well as the initial sync and the ongoing sync, supporting your integration, and then tips, best practices, and things to consider. So I'll be going over this first half from kickoff to launch and support, and then I'll hand it over to Daniel, who will discuss the tips, best practices, and things to consider. With that said, let's first dive right in here to talking about setting up access to your HubSpot and CRM. When it comes to providing access to HubSpot, it not only allows for a successful connection to CRM, but if you've purchased the setup package through Scribe, it also allows us to create the fields and smart lists that are necessary for the integration. When providing CRM access, we recommend setting up a user that is solely dedicated to the integration. A dedicated user will allow you to see the records created in CRM by the integration, and it'll also allow you to see the fields that were created or updated by the integration. I'd also like to point out that Scribe supports a variety of platforms and environments such as Salesforce, Dynamics, and Dynamics ERP, NetSuite, as well as Sugar CRM. And Scribe even supports SQL databases if you have proprietary software. If your CRM is hosted on-premise, you can do one of two things. You can either poke a hole in the wall to allow Scribe's IP address access to your CRM, or you could simply install Scribe's on-premise agent, which will allow Scribe to connect to your CRM. Scribe makes it very easy to download that on-premise agent, as well as provides very simple instructions for installing it. With some of your CRMs, you'll also want to install a CRM solution package. The CRM solution package provides all of the necessary HubSpot fields as well as an iframe in your CRM environment. So the screenshot here on this slide is just an example of what an iframe would look like more specifically in Microsoft Dynamics once the solution package has been installed. This specific iframe is what we refer to as a mini HubSpot timeline, and it provides insight into the records it provides insight into the HubSpot records, HubSpot activity, as well as allows access to the records HubSpot profile. So anyone in CRM will be able to click that View in HubSpot button and would have viewable access to that HubSpot profile. In this specific view, it also offers the opportunity for someone in CRM to add this contact into a HubSpot workflow. When it comes to the solution package, we recommend that your CRM admin, IT team, or CRM consultant initially install this package in your sandbox environment. So depending on how custom your CRM environment is, it could affect your customizations. While we rarely see this happen, it's obviously just a best practice and a best step to first install in Sandbox. And then once it's successfully installed in Sandbox, everything looks good, your CRM admin or IT team can then install in the production environment. Also just know that if for any reason the solution package can't be installed, that there are other options for syncing the HubSpot data to CRM. So for the integration process, we typically take a few phases when it comes to the process. We have the kickoff phase, the planning of the field mappings, the development phase, and the launch phase. So when the initial kickoff phase for the initial kickoff phase of the integration, it's best to start with determining your goals and requirements. So that'll be the very first thing that you want to focus on. If you choose to use a managed setup service such as ourselves, LyntonWeb, we'll help guide your team on best practices and provide insight as to how most clients successfully use the integration. We'll also review the logic of the integration with you and then also review each sync map. So what needs to sync from HubSpot to CRM as well as CRM to HubSpot. Some of the common configuration options that we see and that we review with clients are the creation of leads and contacts. So do you need leads created in your CRM or do you need contacts created in CRM if they're brand new to your system? By default, CRM is the system of record. So that's one of the configurations that we always like to make known. And it's something that I would say a majority of integration users prefer to have as well. Another configuration option that you need to think about is if you need to sync CRM opportunities. So do you need to sync those to HubSpot deals as well as accounts? So do you need to have CRM accounts syncing to HubSpot companies? Also think about too, do you need any other custom entities syncing to HubSpot? If so, what are those entities and how do you envision using them for your marketing efforts in HubSpot? This example here is what we refer to as a default mapping. So specifically, this sheet here shows the mappings or the field mappings for the HubSpot to CRM when a new lead is created. We typically find that these are the most popular fields to sync when anyone is building their integration. If you choose to purchase a setup package, these fields, along with the HubSpot fields that are added by the solution package you install, will all sync. Now, one of the next steps that you want to take, and I personally think this is the fun part of things, is planning your field mappings. So once you've finalized your configurations, it's then important to collaborate with your sales, marketing, and IT teams to determine what field mappings need to sync. It is important that you guys work as a team on those because you want to make sure that the integration is meeting everyone's needs and not just a specific team. So you don't want just sales benefiting from the integration or just marketing. You want to make sure that the integration is making everyone happy. So what we often suggest is to keep it simple initially. Really focus on what you need now rather than trying to tackle a ton of information initially. So we say this because Scribe field mappings are very easy to add and change, and you can do so as your marketing evolves. Now, when it comes to the development of the basic integration, we found that it typically takes about anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks to build the maps and test internally. Once the development and testing has completed, we typically run what we refer to as a quality assurance phase, or QA phase is what we also refer to it as. So the QA phase is when your integration is live and syncing in both directions. That means that any newly created or modified record will sync bidirectionally, and if it's qualified to do so, again, will also sync. The QA phase is also a great time for your team to monitor and test the integration as needed. An example of that would be creating a record in CRM and seeing it sync to HubSpot, or submitting a HubSpot form and seeing that new contact get created in CRM, whether that be a new lead or a contact. So again, it's really your opportunity to see the integration working in real time without syncing any large amounts of historical data. With our experience, we typically find that the QA phase lasts about 5 business days. So that's generally the time that we find integration clients need to be able to successfully test their integration. Of course, if you need it to last longer, you can. Obviously, it'll depend on your testing needs. So we have found the sweet spot to be about 5 business days, though. So after completing your testing, the quality assurance phase is done. Everything looks good. You guys you gave the green light to your team. The final step is to run the initial sync. You will need to determine what records you initially want to have synced in both directions. So for example, think about what records you want populated in HubSpot. Do you only want active contacts and qualified leads to sync to HubSpot? Or maybe you initially only want those CRM records that were created after January 1st, 2015, and you only want those to sync to HubSpot because you don't necessarily want to market to contacts that were created before then. So those are just a couple of examples of some filters that you can place on the initial sync. I would say from our experience, a majority of clients choose to sync everything. You know, they initially want all of that data into HubSpot, and then anyone that meets the scope for the HubSpot to CRM sync will then sync back to CRM as well. So during the initial sync, all qualified CRM records will sync to HubSpot, and all qualified HubSpot records will sync to CRM. The purpose or goal of this initial sync really is to mirror the CRM and HubSpot environments together as closely as possible. Now keep in mind that the initial sync is different than the ongoing sync. We have some clients who for the initial sync, again, choose to put a filter on it, and then the ongoing sync, they choose to have a different filter. So again, let's say, for example, for the initial sync, you choose to sync only those records that were created after January 1st, 2015. Once the initial sync is completed, you can then change that filter back so that anyone that's newly created or modified is qualified to sync. So Daniel will actually be touching a little bit more on this topic once I hand it over to him, and he'll go into a little bit more detail about the difference between the initial sync and the ongoing sync. One of the most important questions to ask your team is who's going to maintain the integration for you guys. Now, another question to ask is, will you be supporting the integration yourself, or would you prefer to be a little bit more hands-off and receive proactive and expert management support from a preferred partner? If you do choose to support the integration internally, we recommend someone from your IT team or CRM team, or really anyone with a technical background who can learn Scribe, to be the person that supports your integration. It will be important to support the integration for things such as changes to field mappings, changes to sync logic or other customizations, new integration maps such as adding opportunity syncing or any custom object syncing, and then being able to update the connections if your CRM password changes or you need to change the user dedicated to the integration, they can be able to update those connections in Scribe, as well as someone who can just jump in there and do some general troubleshooting and resolving issues. I'm now going to hand it over to Daniel to cover the fun things. So he's going to talk about how the integration can support your goals, how it can leverage your CRM data and HubSpot, and then he'll also discuss some of the data tips to consider before integrating your CRM.
Thanks, Katy. Like Katy said, I'm going to start with what you should consider when planning your integration, starting with what are your inbound marketing goals and how can your integration support those goals. Some of those priority items that our clients are considering when they're planning their integration starts with getting qualified leads to the sales team. What determines a qualified lead in HubSpot, and how, what criteria deems someone qualified to send them over to sales? You don't want to send every HubSpot contact to the sales team. For example, someone who signs up for a blog subscription or downloads an ebook with just their name and email address. You probably don't want sales following up those people and getting them aggravated because they just wanted to subscribe to your content. So that involves thinking through the inclusion list and thinking through some of the other HubSpot automation features like lead scoring to determine how you're going to qualify leads and work with the sales team to define that. Then you get to thinking about which records and fields should sync to HubSpot. This impacts lead scoring, content personalization, list building. I go into more detail on this on the next slide. So what are the fields in CRM that are necessary in HubSpot to do effective marketing? And likewise, which types of fields in HubSpot, maybe you're asking them on a form, are necessary to sync into CRM so they're available to the sales team. Don't overthink your requirements. really easy to get stuck in this paralysis by analysis mode where you want the integration to automate 100% of the sales and marketing process, or perhaps your CRM users or your CRM admin is used to a certain process for new leads flowing in or how leads get qualified. Certainly you want the integration to adapt to your process. And Scribe is very powerful and allows you to do that. For instance, some of our customers create new contacts instead of creating new leads. But if you get stuck in too many CRM requirements where the integration has to do this and has to do that at certain points, then you might be over-engineering the integration, especially from day one. Try to start simple and then allow the integration to grow as your marketing evolves. So a little bit of tips for choosing your initial sync criteria. You could start with simply all your active customers and leads to get the most current marketing contacts into HubSpot. You could look at, like Katy mentioned earlier, maybe I just want to sync everyone that was recently created or recently updated within the last 12 months. You know, some of these decisions are going to be based on your HubSpot billing tier, based on how many contacts you've paid for in HubSpot. But it is very easy to clean out the database if you sync too many contacts. The key is really making sure that you have everyone that's eligible for marketing in HubSpot so you can start communicating and establishing relationships or building relationships with those contacts. Consider loading everyone and sending them an email blast to confirm their subscription, ask for subscription preferences, maybe update their contact info with you. This is a really good way to identify which people do or don't want to hear from you, identify bounced email addresses, re-engage. If you haven't done email marketing in a while, you get to market to your entire database and then scale back from there. You can delete people that have opted out, and CRM will still have a record that they opted out because of the opt-out field integration between HubSpot and CRM. So there's nothing wrong with populating HubSpot with everything and then cleaning it up from there. The ongoing sync criteria, we really recommend syncing everyone. And then cleaning the HubSpot database regularly to remove opt-outs, inactive contacts, disqualified leads, anyone that you don't think is eligible for marketing. If you add too many filters to your ongoing sync from CRM to HubSpot, you might find that HubSpot data becomes stale. Because if you're syncing active leads but not disqualified leads, then HubSpot never knows that a lead became disqualified. So really, we recommend syncing everything into HubSpot and then cleaning the HubSpot database on a regular basis. You could certainly filter out records that you never want to market to and you know should never be in HubSpot. That could be employees, vendors, maybe you have job candidates in CRM. So that's fair game. And also consider if you need a very fine-tuned sync filter. Some of our customers choose to manually flag which records are eligible to sync from CRM to HubSpot. So that's an option as well. Here's some of the ways you can leverage your CRM data in HubSpot when you're thinking about which fields you should be syncing in. Of course, targeted marketing lists is so important. So being able to create smart lists in HubSpot based on fields in CRM. You can also use the CRM to trigger workflows that can be used for email nurturing. Those fields can be used on content personalization, which is a lot of fun. If you know the customer's industry, their job title, and so on, you can use HubSpot's Smart Content feature to display personalized images, text content, and so on. Of course, inserting specific fields into emails, obviously first name, company name are obvious fields, but there might be other fields in CRM that you can use in content personalization. Lead scoring is very popular, scoring leads based on CRM fields. You can then combine that with other lead scoring features that HubSpot has. If you have enterprise, you get even more powerful lead scoring that will sort of predict which of your CRM records or which of your contacts are most likely to become customers. So your integration will really help you benefit from those advanced lead scoring features. By sending the sales rep owner into HubSpot, you can send personalized emails on behalf of the sales rep. So it's a great way to do personalized marketing. It's very easy to do in HubSpot. And so we do recommend syncing the sales rep information as a default mapping. You can then also send internal notifications to sales reps when someone visits a specific page on the website or performs some action. And you can really target it down. So consider creating a workflow that alerts the sales rep if one of their current open opportunities visits your pricing page. And lastly, there's a lot of powerful reporting built into HubSpot. You can leverage the closed loop reporting, revenue reporting, and marketing dashboards using your CRM data. So a few more tips on really keeping your data clean. Before starting an integration, it really helps if you've identified duplicate records, minimize duplicate records as much as possible, and just general cleanup if your CRM hasn't, really been maintained in the best possible way. So clean database makes for a happy HubSpot contact database as well. Duplicate records is a very common issue. Duplicate records can happen by accident. They can happen on purpose. Oftentimes we have customers that want duplicate leads for every new request that comes in from a person. But HubSpot enforces unique email addresses. So only one contact per email, meaning the CRM to HubSpot sync could end up overwriting the same contact as different versions of the duplicates get updated over time. And that's just the nature of how the integration works. Whichever the most recent record was updated in CRM, that's going to be the most recent version in HubSpot. When syncing from HubSpot to CRM, you can build the integration to match and update all duplicates. So CRM users can see all of the HubSpot data across the duplicate records, or what we recommend is really just picking one matching record to update in CRM. Lastly, I mentioned opt-out sync earlier. We really recommend keeping the opt-out status in sync. If you're using Dynamics, there's the do not send marketing or do not send bulk email, but there usually is a similar field for any other CRM. Really recommend keeping that up to date in CRM so that if you are using multiple email providers or if you switch in the future, you can comply with canned spam laws. That also helps you clean up your HubSpot database. If someone opts out, you don't want to pay for them to stay in HubSpot. You can delete them and you still know that they're opted out in CRM. So that's everything I have. I think we're going to hand it over to John for some questions.
Great. Thank you very much, Daniel and Katy. Yep, we have a couple minutes for questions here. We'll try to squeeze in as many as we can. So I know there's a bunch in the queue, but feel free to enter any question you still have, and we'll, if we run out of time, we'll get back to you after the webinar presentation ends. Let's just pick a couple here. It looks, one of them, it's a little, I think it might have gotten a little mixed up in the translation, but it looks like the question is 3 to 4 weeks time appropriate for an out-of-the-box HubSpot to Dynamics CRM integration that's customized for a particular customer's implementations? So basically, how long does it take if you have a pretty customized CRM to go start to finish with, from starting with HubSpot on day one?
I'll take that, John.
Yeah,
timeline is. Sorry, Katy. Well, we can answer together. I'll say that most customers, for a standard Dynamics CRM implementation, is around that 3 to 4 or even 4 to 6 week range. I don't know if Katy has any more to comment on that, but it really does depend on the amount of customizations, how final those mappings are from the very beginning. Katy, do you have anything to add there?
Yeah, I think the only thing that I'd also add into that is that for an out-of-the-box integration, we typically see, like Daniel said, 3 to 4 weeks, sometimes 4 to 6. For more customized integrations, we typically estimate around 60 to 90 days. Of course, depending on your needs, how long you need for QA phase, it could take a little bit longer than that, but that's about the time that we see for custom integrations.
Okay, great. Next question. If we just need a basic connection between Dynamics and HubSpot, will the standard Scribe connector do this for us?
The Scribe HubSpot connector will handle most integration needs between Dynamics and HubSpot. So Scribe's Dynamics connector and HubSpot connector are both very fully featured and will handle most integration needs.
Okay, great. Let's see. Regarding field types, can I map my HubSpot drop-down field to an option pick list in the CRM?
We get that one a lot, and yes, it is possible to update the HubSpot drop-down to populate option set or pick list options from CRM, regardless of which CRM system you're using. We do have a custom connector that helps satisfy that requirement.
Okay, great. Here's one. How does HubSpot handle duplicate leads in CRM? Is it based on the email address, or can we pick another field?
The email address is what will initially match up the HubSpot and CRM record. And then from that point forward, we do store the IDs in both systems. So if the email address changes in HubSpot, we can update CRM. And likewise, if you change the email in CRM, we can update the HubSpot record instead of creating a second record in HubSpot with a different email address. But as I mentioned earlier, with any duplicate emails in CRM, if all of those duplicates are qualified to sync to HubSpot, they will tend to overwrite the HubSpot record, since only one unique email per contact is allowed.
Okay, thank you. So we have a few more questions, but I think I'm only going to be able to squeeze one more in here because it looks like we're just about over time here. So let me get one more in, and this question is, what's the best way to map over notes and annotations associated with current leads?
That is not currently a well-supported feature, particularly based on limitations of the HubSpot API, but there's also risk of creating duplicate notes and annotations. So we don't typically recommend syncing notes, activities, that sort of thing from CRM to HubSpot. We do sometimes create new notes, activities, and other types of activity records in CRM, but creating those notes and annotations in HubSpot, there's not really currently a good way to do that.
Okay. Well, why don't we wrap up with that? I want to give a huge thank you to Daniel and Katy for all the information they shared today. I hope you got a lot of valuable information out of their presentation. We do have on the screen here a couple of assets for you to go to for more information. You can go to the LyntonWeb website for some additional information about the HubSpot integration that they offer. You can also, if you are not already using the Scribe integration platform as a service, our cloud-based platform, which is called Scribe Online, you can do a trial on our site, and you'll see Daniel and Katy's information listed there as well. So I just want to say thank you again to Daniel and Katy, and thank you to everyone who attended today's presentation. We look forward to seeing you at the next Scribe software presentation, which will be in probably a few weeks. So please keep your eyes out for that. Thank you very much.